Hello and welcome. You're watching To The Point. Earlier today, Anil Sinha took charge as the new director of the CBI. But unfortunately, the institution he inherits is both damaged in the public eye and possibly demoralized within. So in part 2, we ask, what is the state of the CBI today? And how should Anil Sinha set about repairing this vital institution? But first, the paralysis in Parliament over the Sadhvi issue. For a second consecutive day, the Rajya Sabha has failed to function. So tonight we ask, is the opposition right in demanding the Sadhvi's resignation or sacking? Is the Prime Minister justified in maintaining silence? And is paralysis of the Rajya Sabha the right way of handling this sorry situation? And now to discuss the hangama in the Rajya Sabha is BJP MP Chandan Mitra, CPM MP Rito Brato Banerjee, Trinamool MP Shaugat Roy, Congress spokesperson Rashmi Kant, and the well-known columnist and commentator Siddharth Bhatia. Rito Brato Banerjee, let me start with a simple question. Although she did not do it voluntarily and although she initially defended herself, Sadhvi Niranjan Jyoti has eventually apologized for her haramzado comment. Why are you not prepared to allow this to be the end of the matter? Why are you insisting on paralyzing Parliament?
See, the inflammatory statement made by her. Yes, she has apologized. Her apology itself is an admission of her crime. Now, she has committed an offense until the investigation is over. She can't remain a minister. We want the executive to register a FIR against her. Until the investigation is over, she must not be in the cabinet. PM, the Prime Minister of the country, he has a collective responsibility and must sack the minister. You must remember that this inflammatory statement is a manifestation of a divisive thinking and divisive politics, which is gaining momentum after the new government.
You want the executive to file the FIR against her?
Definitely, she has taken an oath under the constitution. She has been a minister now. Now the admission of the crime, admission of the guilt is a crime itself under section 153. Which says that creating communal divide among different groups.
I take your point. It's very clear. Chandan Mitra, unfortunately, Monday was not the first time the Sadhvi has made the haramzado comment. According to the Nav Bharat Times, she made the same comment using the same words at a Lucknow rally in March, which was addressed by Mr. Modi. And it's quite possible that Mr. Modi was sitting on the dais hearing her when she spoke. So clearly, the Sadhvi is a serial offender. In her case, therefore, an apology cannot suffice.
Well, if she has made this comment, which I am totally unaware of, I'm hearing it from you first time, it's just that maybe the TV cameras didn't pick it up or nobody captured her on mobile and you did not blow it out of proportion as you're doing now. So, the matter did not catch public attention.
So are you to say she's only to be punished when it catches public attention, not when she does it? Is it the good fortune of public attention that brings forth the punishment?
Anybody knew? I'm not sure it happened. You are only quoting a newspaper report, a newspaper that I haven't read and I have not seen any footage. So what can I comment?
All right. Shaugat Roy, earlier this year, when your colleague, the Trinamool MP Tapas Pal, publicly threatened to personally kill his opponents and have their wives raped, Mamata Banerjee was very happy to settle for an apology. In fact, she said that was sufficient. What more was needed? Now, why are you in this instance insisting that the Sadhvi should resign when there was no need for a resignation in the past Pal's case?
No, firstly, I must clarify that Taposh Pal's matter is entirely sub judice. People went to High Court against Tapas Pal.
Much later.
High Court ordered a CID inquiry.
But that happened much later.
Matter. But it happened. It has happened now. So please let me complete my sentence. So and the High Court ordered a CID inquiry. The CID is already inquiring into the matter. It has interrogated Taposh Pal and it has not yet submitted its report to High Court. So as long as it is under the jurisdiction of High Court, it is beyond our competence to discuss.
No, but forgive me, I'm not discussing the details of the Paspal. I'm pointing out that there are two different standards used by your party. Your party is demanding the Sadhvi's resignation. Your party did not insist on Tapas Pal's resignation at all. You accepted an apology in his case. It's that double standards I'm talking about.
See, you please try and understand that nobody raised Tapas Pal's matter in Parliament. Tapas Pal was not a minister. There is a difference between.
It was raised in the Lok Sabha.
No, it was raised.
What are you saying? It was raised in the Lok Sabha.
Please listen to me. Yes, no, but nobody asked for Tapas Pal's expulsion. Nobody submitted a breach of privilege against him. Here in this case, Niranjan Jyoti is not only a member of Lok Sabha, but is also a member of the Council of Ministers, who has been sworn in only recently by the President of India. So in that case, she is part of the collective responsibility, and the offence she has done is a non-compoundable offence.
So was too the offence of Tapas Pal.
Against her, and
Tapas Pal was equally guilty of 153A. But never mind. I take your point that in this instance, the person concerned is a minister. Tapas Pal wasn't a minister. In your eyes, that makes a material difference. The other difference is that there has been a motion moved against the Sadhvi that didn't happen in Tapas Pal's case, or so you claim. Unfortunately, you have an example that also is as embarrassing as the Tapas Pal one, and it makes your position look very strange. In March 2013, Beni Prasad Verma, then a minister, speaking in Parliament, accused Mulayam Singh of supporting terrorism. Once again, he apologized, and that was considered the end of the matter. Why are you now demanding that something more than an apology should be required of the Sadhvi? Why have double standards?
Karan, I think the analogy, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, is not correct, for the simple reason that today in Parliament, the BJP accuses TMC and other parties accuse another party of encouraging terrorism. Here we are talking about hate language. Now, let me
so it's okay to say Mulayam supports terrorism.
No,
that is not hate language in your eyes.
I'm saying that could be a political line where somebody...
A political line?
A political line where somebody...
Defaming someone personally is a political line.
Whether it is defaming or not, they probably feel that they are supporting terrorism. Somebody else might be feeling... For example, when Mr. Giriraj Singh said during the election campaign, not during the parliament, that anybody who does not vote for Mr. Modi should go to Pakistan.
But you're not talking about my example. Yeah. My example is your minister, Beni Prasad Verma.
Yeah.
If in Beni Prasad Verma's case you were happy to settle for an apology, why are you demanding more in the Sadhvi's? Is that not double standards?
The reason is that the language used by the Sadhvi is abusive, and it is totally...
Calling someone a supporter of terrorism is a kind word?
Well, if that is his political judgment, he is allowed to give his political judgment, but are you allowed to use unparliamentary language in Parliament?
All right.
Now,
this is a political judgment from Beni Prasad Verma in March 2013 that Mulayam Singh supports terrorism.
That is his political view. Right. Now, the Congress...
It's a bit far-fetched, but I'll accept it.
No, but let me just complete. Here, the big problem is that here there's a member in the Union Cabinet, like you have talked about Mr. Beni Prasad Verma, a lady. It doesn't matter whether it's a lady and a man. There's a gentleman also who's used foul language in the past.
But what's the point?
The point that I'm trying to say is, if allowed to remain in the cabinet, will send a signal that you use abusive language, then say sorry, and the matter finishes. But the damage of polarizing society is already done.
All right. I take your point. On a point of principle, you're arguing that an apology can't be the end of the matter when the language you use polarizes society. Siddharth Bhatia, you've heard Shaugato Roy handle the claim that in fact the Tapas Pal case is different to the Sadhvi. You've heard Mr. Kant handle the claim that in fact the Beni Prasad Verma case is different to the Sadhvi. Do you believe that in fact the opposition is right in treating the Sadhvi matter as different to either the Beni Prasad Verma or the Tapas Pal case? Or are they being hypocritical?
No, Karan, you have already established that every party has had instances within and outside Parliament. I mean, what is said in this was mainly said in an election campaign, I think. What is said in election campaign sometimes just surpasses and has begun. That situation has happened now, has begun to surpass all norms of decency. But you know, I'll just say, so that the double standard now I think is, you know, a thing that doesn't apply here anymore. But what I think, two things I know in this particular case. One is that this has given a first handle to all opposition parties to put this government on the mat. It's really the first example in 6 months where, you can talk about economic
but forgive me,
policies or
that's a
several
different
other things,
issue.
but this
Let's not
time,
get sidetracked. You're absolutely right in pointing out that this has given them the first handle, but that's a different issue. Come back to my point. Is this a justified moment on which to hold Parliament to ransom and not let it function? Or, because of the double standards, are they making a terrible mistake in paralyzing Parliament?
Well, to answer your second question first, yes, there is an element of double standards. On the other hand, you might argue that the opposition parties had not united on this the way they have for this. So, holding a parliament when you get an opportunity, you're really taking it out on a party which used to hold a parliament on all kinds of things. Plus, you're trying to embarrass the Prime Minister into saying something. So, I think this point is going to be something that the opposition is using to beat a stick with.
Okay.
For the BJP, it's going to be a point to see how far they can take it. And I think the impasse will continue for a day or two or till whenever. And then slowly some kind of situation will be sorted out. But it's really an opportunity to do to the BJP what the BJP did.
Absolutely, that's a very true point. But Chandan Mitra, let me put this to you. If the point I made earlier is established and proven, that the Sadhvi has actually used precisely the same language on an earlier occasion in March in Lucknow at a rally, and you can certainly check that out. So if it is proven, do you then concede that she becomes a serial offender, not an accidental first-time offender, and therefore something more than an apology would be required?
Karan, 3 points. One, that's immaterial. If she's serial or first-time offender, what she has said is in bad taste and she has apologized for it. Whether first time, second time, I think is not material. Number 2, you said today's discussion will be on the question of Rajya Sabha having kind of come down from its pedestal and has become, become a place of chaos and hooliganism kind of. But we are only discussing one Sadhvi.
Well, hang on a second. We're only 10 minutes into the discussion. I said I had 2 questions to ask you. That is my second question.
And most importantly, 1 minute, let me make the most important point. The hypocrisy of the opposition is so transparent from the fact that in the Lok Sabha, her apology has been accepted and Lok Sabha is functioning normally. Now, what is valid for the Lok Sabha, how can it not be valid for the Rajya Sabha? Just because they have more numbers in the Rajya Sabha, how come Rajya Sabha is being disrupted and not held to ransom, whereas Lok Sabha is functioning normally?
Let me stop you there. Let me stop you there, because you're actually now coming to the second issue I wanted to raise. I began by saying I wanted to ask you 2 questions, and the second is this. It's to do with the Prime Minister's behavior, which is one of the other reasons why the Rajya Sabha is so upset. Not just has the Prime Minister chosen to be silent on this subject, but in addition, when members of the Rajya Sabha were asking that he should come to the Rajya Sabha and address the Rajya Sabha on this issue, he refused to do so. And I put it to you, in the present circumstances where clearly the Rajya Sabha is extremely exercised, is that the right response from the Prime Minister of India? Is he not exacerbating the feeling and the emotion in the Rajya Sabha?
Just because some members start shouting, Prime Minister doesn't have to come running. I mean, we have seen Prime Ministers and Prime Ministers. We have had Moni Babas as Prime Minister. Whether in this house or that house, they never opened their mouth. And here also the Prime Minister will come when he is required to come. This matter, just because a few opposition members are demanding that he should come, the Prime Minister cannot be seen coming rushing. He will come when it's necessary.
Well, it's very interesting. He'll come when necessary. You can't call him and demand it. Let me put this to you. Maybe there is a point, maybe there's not to what Chandan is saying. But either way, is it right to paralyze the functioning of Parliament? Parliament hasn't functioned, the Rajya Sabha I mean, for 2 days. It's quite possible it may not function tomorrow again. You people were elected to govern, not to create a holy hangama.
See the situation that has been created. Particularly, I mentioned in the beginning that this statement is a manifestation of a divisive mindset and divisive politics. And as you were mentioning, we have heard, just one point I want to mention, we have heard Mr. Mohan Bhagwat telling that cultural identity of all Indians are Hindutva. And
he didn't say it in the House. Mr. Bhagwat said it outside the House.
No. I am telling why this has a link. Because in the house we have heard the relation of the Atma and the
But
Paramatma.
my question you're missing my question, which is this. You may be absolutely right in being exercised by the mood in which people are now speaking and trying to communalize the situation. But paralyzing Parliament is surely the wrong response. The people of India want to see you govern, not waste their money.
The thing is that it's such a serious matter. She has...
Is it so serious that you want to waste something like 20 crores a day?
No, this matter is extremely serious.
It's a poor country. Can you afford to waste that much money by holding up Parliament every single day?
See, the Parliament, Chandanda was telling 6 months earlier, on the other side of the bench they were there. Same thing has happened with other matters also.
Mr. Kant. Yeah. Many people believe that Congress is delighting in holding up Parliament, A, because this is revenge for what the BJP did to you, and revenge is always sweet. And secondly, this will ensure that critical legislation the BJP wants to push won't go through, and that also pleases you.
Karun, on behalf of the Congress, I would like to categorically deny both the things that you're saying. I think the important question here is, you talked about the Prime Minister not coming to Rajya Sabha. Ever since this government took over, except on January 1 when the Prime Minister responded to the President's debate, the President's address to Parliament, the Prime Minister has not come to the House either to the Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. Is he scared of answering a supplementary questions while at the same time he has addressed 5 parliaments outside the country? 5 parliaments outside the country.
That's a very good point you're making, and I will take it to Chandan Mitra in a moment's time, but I want to go first to Dr. Saugata Roy. Dr. Roy, yesterday in the Rajya Sabha, your colleague Derek O'Brien said to the Deputy Chairman that he should give the Prime Minister a visa so the Prime Minister should come to the Rajya Sabha. Now, I put it to you, was he right to mock the PM in that way? After all, when the opposition was demanding further action in the Tapas Pal case, Mamata Banerjee sarcastically said, "What do you want? Should I kill him?" Derek would never have had the guts to mock her, although that comment probably called for mockery. So I ask you, is it right to mock just because you have the power of speech on your side?
No, Derek of course said the thing in jest, but even then the MPs both in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha have a genuine grievance against the Prime Minister, that the present Prime Minister is not facing the Parliament at all. In Lok Sabha, of which he is a member, excepting introducing his newly sworn in members, ministers, he has not spoken once. Today, when there was fracas during question hour between 11 and 12, with members demanding the resignation of this Sadhvi Niranjan Jyoti, the Prime Minister just sat there quietly. He might have caught up and said whatever he felt about this subject, things should have calmed down. But unfortunately, he refused to speak. Now, I cannot comment on what happens in Rajya Sabha, being a member of Lok Sabha, but I feel that Derek and all his colleagues in Rajya Sabha have a legitimate grievance that the Prime Minister, as was mentioned earlier, has addressed 5 parliaments outside but chooses to ignore both houses of Parliament, particularly the upper house of Parliament. Derek's point was in response to the grievance that was building up among members that Prime Minister
let me put that point to Chandan Mitra, but I want to just make one correction. The Prime Minister, in fact, did speak very powerfully for a full hour in the Lok Sabha when he ended the debate on the President's address.
On June 1.
That was a very powerful speech from the Prime Minister.
That was long time ago, 6 months ago.
Chandan Mitra, come to the central concern made by probably everyone over here, that the Prime Minister is deliberately, consciously and knowingly ignoring the Rajya Sabha. He hasn't visited once since Parliament began. In fact, Mr. Kant claims that perhaps after his initial visits when he perhaps made an address, he hasn't been to the Rajya Sabha at all. Why? The Rajya Sabha is a very important part of our Parliament. It's an equal part, one would say, as the Lok Sabha. Why then does the Prime Minister choose not to go to the Rajya Sabha?
The Prime Minister has been busy, as we all know, and he has not been able to participate very regularly in parliament proceedings, either in Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. But the Prime Minister has the highest regard for both houses and will come to the Rajya Sabha when he has to give a reply or when he has to say something. Why is the opposition making an issue? All these 10 years, there was a man who either did not come at all to any of the houses, or if he came, he sat silently, like a silent Buddha. I mean, that time there was no issue.
Is there not a virtue in the Prime Minister simply being present, even if he doesn't stand up and open his mouth with great alacrity and with great frequency? Just being present is a sign of respect and duty. Isn't his presence required?
Of course, it's not true that he has not been to Rajya Sabha. He has been to the Rajya Sabha several times. He may not have spoken apart from the President's address, but he's been in the Rajya Sabha. He's observed proceedings. Okay. I have seen him myself in the Rajya Sabha, coming in and going out and coming in again. But my question is unanswered, Karan. Why the double standard?
All right, let me bring in.
You accept Sadhvi's apology in the Rajya Sabha. You stall because you have more numbers.
Well, you made that point earlier. With respect, you made that point earlier. We've moved on now beyond the apology to the Prime Minister and the Rajya Sabha and the anguish and angst of the Rajya Sabha over the Prime Minister's absence. Siddha Bhatia, in a very telling first half of the answer that I got from Chandan Mitra, he said the Prime Minister has not been able to participate regularly in Parliament. That's how he began. Now, is it not the duty of the Prime Minister to ensure that he does participate regularly? Nehru, for example, made a point, no matter what the problems and the issues of the day were, to be present in Parliament, listening.
That's prehistoric.
But those are the precedents that you should follow and honour, not disregard today. So, Chandan, do you think the Prime Minister, as Chandan Mitra puts it, Siddha Bhatia, is the Prime Minister wrong in not participating regularly?
No, not at all.
His mere presence, I think the point.
And he can't come and just listen to the kind of hangama and the theatrics and antics of the opposition. He would be wasting his time.
Let Siddha Bhatia answer that. Siddha Bhatia, go ahead and answer it.
What would he be doing?
Let Siddha Bhatia, Chandan, be fair. Let Siddha Bhatia answer that question. Siddha Bhatia, go ahead. It's your chance. Answer it.
You know, the point that he, has the highest regard, but he's not been able to come to the Rajya Sabha doesn't really wash. Neither does the point that you had a Prime Minister who just came and sat there silently, because the Prime Minister's physical presence there sends a very, very strong signal that he is participating fully in the Rajya Sabha. If you look at the past few months, it's been that the Prime Minister has been busy doing other things. Now, you could argue that as the Chief Executive of the nation, he's got many other things to do. But if this turns out to be that, the upper house, where we do not have a majority, which is not as important as the lower house where legislation is made and passed, then it really sends a very powerful signal to say. And I really think that is connected with the raucous behavior of the MPs. I mean, one can't pardon it, but I'm saying it's connected with that to say that I really don't really have time for you people, and I'll come when I feel like coming. It's a bit also a bit sophisticated to say that, look at these raucous scenes, how can he come? He's not coming.
Can I bring you in at that point, Mr. Banerjee, and put to you a somewhat of a conundrum? You want the Prime Minister to come to the Rajya Sabha, you're angry that he hasn't come, and that's understandable. But at the same time, over another issue, you're creating a hangama so the Rajya Sabha doesn't function at all. Now, as long as the Rajya Sabha doesn't function, the Prime Minister is not going to come. So if you want the Prime Minister, let the
Prime Minister come, the Rajya Sabha will be quiet, because we have been demanding
that the Prime Minister...
Is that a promise? We have been demanding the Prime Minister must be there. 27 sittings.
You said a very important thing. I want to stop you.
Because we are demanding that.
Let me clarify.
We are demanding that.
If the Prime Minister were to indicate that he wishes to come to the Rajya Sabha tomorrow, it would function, and you would drop this issue about the Sadhvi?
We are demanding that the Prime Minister must comment about this issue. He has to take the collective responsibility and sack the minister. He has to come and speak in the House.
He may comment and not sack.
You have changed your position.
Just a minute.
Let Chandan come in and I'll come back to you. Chandan Mitra, and then I'm going to go to Shaukat Roy. Yes, first you, Chandan Mitra.
No. Yeah, I'm just pointing out that Ritabrata just changed his position. He first said that the Prime Minister comes, Rajya Sabha will function. So you rightly asked whether it's a commitment on the part of the opposition. If he is not going to give a commitment and therefore he knows he can't carry it out, many of his other friends like the TMC will not listen to him, so he is backtracked.
Okay.
But my question still remains. Why are they allowing Lok Sabha to function and not allowing Rajya Sabha to function? He has apologized in Lok Sabha. She is apologized
because they
in Rajya
have the
Sabha.
numbers
So
in the
why are they
Rajya
holding us
Sabha and they
Rajya
don't in the
Sabha?
Lok
By that
Sabha.
logic,
Everyone
you hold
uses
up
numbers
Lok
to
Sabha
their
also.
benefit. You know that, Chandan. Let me bring you in, Mr. Shaukat Roy. You're neither a friend of the
there must be some
CPM,
logic.
nor are you a friend of the BJP.
Let them justify.
Chandan, let me talk to Shaukat Roy.
Yes, we have more numbers, therefore we will block Rajya Sabha.
You made your point. Now let me bring in Shaukat Roy. Mr. Roy, you're neither a friend of the TMC nor of the BJP. You probably hate them with equal measure. But is there not something very peculiar about the demand? The Prime Minister must come to the Rajya Sabha. We're very upset he's not coming. And at the same time, you don't let the Rajya Sabha function on another issue, and that ensures the Prime Minister can't come. You either have to let the Rajya Sabha function and he will come, or you don't let it function and he has a very good excuse for not coming. But you can't have it both ways.